So if you got a Mustang or a Colt or something and you're working on getting them to pick up their feet, you're just not sure how about going about doing that. In my last video, I talked about building a horse's comfort zone and building their confidence. I'm a firm believer in roping all of your horse's feet, but that's not how I start out saying, give me your foot. I'm not going to put this horse in a round pen and rope his feet and give him a bad experience with his feet being handled right away. I want that horse to confidently give me their feet. When I go about roping a horse's feet, generally the way I go about doing that is in a round pen to teach them how to give to that pressure, how to stop. So when I put a pair of hobbles on them, they already know how to give to that pressure without fighting it, tripping, and possibly injuring themselves. So how I go about actually teaching a horse to give their feet to me and be confident about it is kind of the same thing that I was talking about in my last video with this horse. Is you push that comfort zone that they have enough to make it grow just a little bit, and then you retreat back into the center of that comfort zone. So say I have a circle of comfort zone right here, just kind of in these trees in the Colts one. The way I go about building that comfort zone isn't someone coming and saying, hey, Sarah, and shoving me out into the open and saying, get used to it, because all that's going to do is make me even more tight and more tense and scared. But if I come up to the edge of this comfort zone, right at the end of it, and I look past and I say, hey, this isn't bad right here, maybe I can take another step without being scared. Maybe I can take another step. And so that's what I do with my horses, is I like to give them that confidence, put them right on the edge of that comfort zone to where they're just like, you could tell they're like, not enough to get a reaction out of them to where they freak out, but enough to where they have to think about it. They have to think about where your hands are, what you're asking them to do, and they have to decide whether to react or to accept it. Now, this colt, I've never really particularly worked with him outside of today, so we might get some reactions out of him. We might get him sitting back on this tree, and that's okay. If that happens, and that's fine. You can see here he's already kind of just watchy of me and stuff like that. And we're going to tie him just a little bit shorter here. And this guy, pretty smart guy, he figures things out really quick. And so when I tie him, I actually have to do the daisy chain and then feed it through the end and do that, because he actually already knows how to untie himself just by playing with the knot. So right here, the way that he's standing right now is not a good position for me to go to messing with him and his legs. See right there, there's that stump he just got his foot caught on. He's got the fence right back here if he sets back. So what I want to do is I want to get him actually moved around. See if we can get, come on, there we go. There we go, bud. That's all I wanted. Just get him moved around to where we're in a more safe position for myself and for him. See, now he's standing straight. If he were to set back, he'd be setting back straight. He wouldn't be kinking his neck to the side. And I kind of want to keep him in that straight position if I can. Right now he's kind of crooked again, but he wasn't as crooked as before, to where if he were to go to set back before, it would have turned his head at an angle. And we want to prevent injury, so I could foresee he might possibly set back. So let's get him more straight, so if he does, we're not breaking his neck or causing serious injury. So how I go about this is I want to make sure that I have myself in a position that if he decides to react aggressively, if he decides to set back, I can jump out this way. If he decides to strike, I'm not in front of him. If he decides to turn his hind end and kick at me, his ribs are going to hit me and I'm going to be able to be pushed out of the way before he's able to kick me. So I'm kind of in a safe spot. I don't want to be in front of him. I don't like having my head. A lot of people will turn and they'll do this. that puts your head right where they can cow kick you. And I would rather have my legs here to where they just kind of sweep kick my legs versus cow kicking me in the temple. That's a safety thing for me. So it's not until later that they're more confident and holding their feet and me touching, messing with their feet, that I actually will turn and put my head there. Because turning, like I said, I'm going to step out. If I put my head down and go to mess with his foot, that puts my head right there, like I said, right where he can cow kick me, right in the temple or in the head, and I don't want that to happen. Right here, if I were to bend over, if he were to try to kick me, his ribs would probably run into me because he's going to have to scoot his, oh, I'm sorry, bud, I bumped you. He's going to have to scoot his hind end over. His ribs are going to hit me, most likely push me out of the way if I don't get out of the way first. I'm also in a spot right here too, that if he were to strike, I'm not out in front of him. You know, I'm kind of in a safe position facing forward, and this gives me an advantage to get out of the way if he does react in a violent way. So what I start doing is, you know, I got him in a semi-straight position. I feel like he's not going to stand in a straight position, so we're going to just try. And we're going to work our way down his leg. And I'm going to pay attention to his body. See, he's leaning away right there. So I'm going to come back up. That was just the edge of his comfort zone. You see his body just tense up and he leaned away. That's him telling me, that's his body going, I don't know about this spot. You're fine here, but here, see right there, he's tensing up. So I'm retreating back. And we're just going to keep doing that. We're just going to go down the leg. Good boy. Back up. Down the leg. Good boy. And back up into that central comfort zone. Right here, I know right here is the center of his comfort zone. If I go out right here, he gets a little tense. If I go up right here, he gets a little tense. If I go down here, he gets a little tense. This is his central comfort zone. He is okay with right here. And I just scratch him. And it's just one continuous motion. Just keep petting him. I don't go down, up, pet, stop. It is just one continuous motion for a few minutes. Just down. Let him think about it. There we go. Back up. And I don't go down, pet, stop. I want to retreat back up into that comfort zone to show him and touch him all the way as I'm going up, because not only does that get the horse more comfortable with me reaching down their leg, but that also gets a horse more comfortable with me touching them all over their body, because as I'm coming back up, I'm bumping him in his girth area. I'm elbowing him with my rib a little bit, or elbowing him in the rib a little bit. He's just getting used to being touched all over. And so we work on, all right, now let's go down a little. Oh, there's that comfort zone. You do. But we didn't stay there and cause a reaction. We came back up. You can see we're getting farther and farther down the leg. We started just going here and back up before he started getting tense. Now we're going all the way down to the pastern before he gets tense. And we're retreating back up. And this is just the things that I work on. This is how I go about getting horses used to me touching them somewhere on their body. If you got a horse that's abrasive with their ears or avoidant with their ears being messed with, bridling, this is a good technique. Well, right there, right there, I went to go down to that pasture and I got a reaction before that. So I didn't push beyond the reaction to where I was before. I stayed here. It went back up. Now we're going to stop after we've done that for a couple minutes. Just stop and let him think about it. You see, he's kind of like, that wasn't that bad. He's thinking about it. Now, if I were to come in there and just reach for his leg, we'd get a violent reaction. And if I were to just reach and hold his leg and hold it and expect him to accept his leg being taken away from him, I mean, that's not building his confidence, and that's a good way to get me hurt. Whereas here, we're getting him used to it, and then we're going to go down the back of the leg too. We're going to go back up, go down the back of the leg. And see, the back of the leg, I'm doing a different approach. The front of the leg, when I touched that front of that leg, when he moved away, I kind of retreated back. But the back of the leg, when he picked it up and kind of moved it, I kept petting it because I want them to understand when it comes time for me to pick up their leg for the first time, I'm going to still be touching it when it's moved away from me, you know. So here we go down the back of the leg. Good boy. Just like that. And see, he's already understanding, you know, he gives the pressure really nicely already. And so he's already picking up his leg. And so when he's finally confident in me, picking his leg up here, move down his passer, move this. He's just kind of, I'm just going to, there we go. All right, move back up to that central area and move away. He's never had his feet picked up before. I don't expect to be able to hold his foot for 15 minutes. That right there was a try on his end. I'm going to take it. Let's try it again. Go down the back of the leg. Pick it up. There we go. That's all I wanted. Just think about it. Just think about it. It's not a bad thing, huh? Look at him. He's fine with it. Whereas if I were to come over, let's come over to this side. I'll show you guys. If I were to just reach down and grab his leg, see what kind of reaction I got? What kind of progress did I make right there with this colt? I went back in progress. Just reaching down and grabbing his leg and be like, I expect you to know how to do this. Whereas this leg, I was able to pick it up and hold it for a couple seconds and have zero reaction. I know, buddy. I know. Come over here and pet him and make him feel better about himself. But you could see there. Let's get him moved back over here. But you could see how not building up a horse's confidence in something as simple as picking up their feet, you can cause a violent reaction really quick. That right there, I did nothing to help this colt learn how to pick up his feet. In fact, now I'm going to have to work harder on the other side to get him to give me that foot, because all I did was ensure his fears right off the get-go. Whereas on this side, there we go. See, he's just nice and soft. Look at that. The complete difference from one side to the other from my approach. The approach is what helped him understand you set these horses up for success. And that's the same thing when it comes to getting a horse that is hard to touch around their ears if they don't want their ears touched. You don't just reach and grab their ear and say, hey, figure it out, I'm going to touch it until you stop freaking out. You go, hey, it's okay I touch your ear, see? It's okay that I touch that ear. I'm not hurting you. You understand? I'm your friend. I don't want to hurt you. I want you to learn. Versus going, give me that ear. Let me hold it until you stop freaking out. I mean, the approach, you could see it is black and white on each side, how this horse reacted. I spent, 15 minutes getting him to pick up this foot. And this foot, if I ask him to do it, he will. See? Look at this. 15 minutes. Put it back down before he has a reaction. He's still green. I'm not going to go to trimming on his feet right now. Versus the other side where I went and just grabbed his foot and said, give it to me. We had him sitting back and scared, and all I did was reassure his fears in me. I didn't teach him. I didn't educate him. I didn't build his confidence. I didn't teach him to think. I didn't teach him anything other than I need to be scared of this person. So that's what when you're working with horses, building their confidence and getting them to think before they react, especially these green colts. I mean, this guy doesn't know much. He doesn't know barely anything at all. But you could see the major difference between taking an approach of teaching them to be okay with something and showing them it's okay versus the other side where I went and grabbed his leg. said, give it to me, figure it out. It's not a horse's job to just, a horse is supposed to think and figure things out. But it's your job as a teacher, as a trainer, as an owner. Doesn't matter if you're a trainer or not. It is your job as a horse's owner to set them up for success, to set that path up for them so that in the future, when you ask them to do something, they're 100% confident doing it for you, even when it's something completely new. This horse has never had his feet picked up before, and it shows on how he reacted on the other side. But the way that I worked with him and the way that I approached it, going out of that comfort zone and showing him, hey, it's okay. It's okay. He was 100% confident with me picking up his foot on this side instead of the other side where I said, just figure it out, give it to me. It is your job as an owner, as a trainer, as whatever, to show these horses that they can have 100% confidence in you when you ask them to do something, even if it's something they have never done before. That is your job. If you're wanting to train a horse, training horses isn't about figuring out, setting something out there and for a horse to figure out. And if they have a violent reaction, they have a violent reaction. They'll figure it out eventually. Let's just chuck this set of hobbles on this horse and let them thrash around and figure out that their legs are tied together. Let's just take off at a dead run and crank on that horse's face and let them figure out that when I pull on their face, that means stop. No, it is your job to show that horse, hey, when I ask you to do something new, when I ask you to cross that creek for the first time, you're going to be okay with it. When I ask you to load in a 2-horse trailer that you've never loaded in before, you're going to do it with confidence because you have confidence in me that when I ask you to do something new, it's not going to hurt, it's not going to be scary, and you can rely on me to do it.